I'll show you how I'm going to do this, and a little bit different from this one. I was looking at this and I was kind of surprised I did it that way. If you look underneath, I don't know if this camera's going to really show the detail, is I'm basically making a square and I'm going to trim it out. When you trim it out, it looks better, it hides all your blemishes, but it also adds quite a bit of strength because I'm only using 5/8 particle board, which isn't super thick. If you want to go all out, you can use a 3/4 inch, but it's just even heavier to lift in place. And these don't sag or anything. What does sag is the shelves. They're kind of weak and there's really no support in the front. I'm gonna have to go back and make a support so they don't sag. But as far as the cabinets, they've held up good and they're very inexpensive. Now, I don't have a truck anymore, a pickup truck. So I took my wife's Patriot, and can't fit a lot in there. And I had the Home Depot guy cut this down for me, and he did an okay job other than getting my measurements wrong. I asked him for 40 inches and he cut it to 39.5, but this isn't gonna matter. It doesn't have to be perfect as far as the length. At that corner over there, you see in that corner is where I'm gonna leave a space. Now this is gonna fit up through there, not quite on top of that block. I'm gonna use that as for support when I put it up. Just have something to lean it on. This is what it is. I still have to rip this down. This is the size though. I'm gonna have to probably cut it down. The guy cut it 39.5, and unlike the cabinet I just showed you, I'm gonna use this configuration to give it a little bit more strength. So basically, the board here is gonna be on the outside. These will, once I cut them, I'm gonna cut them to like 14.25 for my space. Your mileage may vary. I'm gonna use my table saw and cut them down, and then I'll trim this down to, I don't know, maybe cut a 1/2 inch off it, top, bottom. And I'll have a top piece that comes in here too. Put some glue, tack it with some nails. Once I got it where I think I want it, then I'll go through and put some screws. Now, once I have essentially a cube without a front, I am going to mark out where my studs are, get my son to help me. Oh, and the other thing too is I'm gonna put a middle piece, a divider, just to add some more strength. That's a long span. But once I get it all together, I am going to put it in position, very unconventional to like a cabinet you'd buy somewhere, for a couple reasons. One is a lot lighter. This particle board's heavy as it is, so when I put this up there, I can tack it in place. I'm not going to paint the inside. I haven't painted any of my interiors of any of the cabinets, and they held up fine, and you can't see it. You can do it if you want. But once I have it in place, that's when I start ripping like 2 or 3 inch slats, and I start to brace up the bottom, trim out the front, and it really kind of brings it together. And I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. And if you're, kind of short on budget and you don't want to spend tons and tons of money, and wood's gone up. This stuff was 22 something a sheet. I had to buy 2 sheets. I didn't need 2 sheets. I needed about 1.5 sheets. So I will have some extra. If you're doing a lot of them, this cabinet essentially is going to cost me around $35. It's like $35, not including the hardware, but that's cheap. I use the cheap stuff on Amazon. So that's cheap. For a cabinet this size, you'd be spending hundreds of dollars. And as you guys want to change things, you want to move things around, or like me, I pretty much didn't like the way it turned out because of the way it looked fine when I first did it because I had a square TV, but it always bothered me ever since I got rid of that TV. So it's not like this huge loss. You can rip it out and rebuild it if your plans change, or add to. And that's what I've done. I've kind of added to over the years, and that's the nice thing about paint. Now, the color that I go with, and the reason I went with this color is, one is I had it from the front porch, but two, it matches my garage door. I'd have to paint this gray. I would prefer, I really like some guys' garage, they have it in gray, but maybe someday I don't know if I want to go there. And that's the factory paint. I'd have to, yeah, whatever. I'm digressing. Now, if you don't have a table saw, you can use a handsaw or a power handsaw. Here's my setup here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up. I'm gonna do some math to make sure and measure and check twice before I don't ruin it. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this started, and I'll show you guys how I'm gonna put this together after I get my pieces cut. I got too many projects going on at the same time. Now, you guys see me turn this cabinet. Really what started it, I bought a new pressure washer set up for my garage, which I had to move some air compressor stuff, and then I've had some issues with my air compressor. So I've been fixing everything and kind of doing multiple things at the same time. I went to grab my air nailer and I'm like, went to go to turn on the air compressor, and I have no air because I have everything disconnected. So I had to run out to the shed and get Old Faithful. This is like 30 years old Porter cable, pancake air compressor. So guys, what I'm gonna do is I have it up on the side. So this is technically the bottom or the top, and then this is the back. And all I'm gonna do is put some rubber gloves or latex gloves on, really glue up that seam very good. I'll probably put some cardboard or something thinner than cardboard, like paper towel, underneath that corner, just so it doesn't get on the concrete. Not that this concrete is great. And then I'm gonna tack some nails. Now to do that, using my Porter cable, I use this thing more than anything. It's not technically a brad nailer. I think it's a finish nailer, but it's kind of got some brad heads on it. The only nails I have for this is these Harbor Freight. I bought them years ago. I haven't thrown them away. I should just throw them. Oh, yeah, don't do that, guys. Don't do that. But where are they? They're 2 inches. I threw them on the ground. That's what I have. So they're a straight head finish nail. So yeah, that's what I have. It's a straight head nailer. But they got like kind of a head like a brad nailer, because I have a small brad nailer that I hardly ever use, and the heads are about the same. 2 inches, but these things are junk. Do I have one over there? Let me go ahead and pull one out of here for you. And a lot of times they shoot 2 nails. Sometimes they jam up the gun, but it's what I have. I'll look for some clean ones, and I'm a big believer in using what you got, but as long as it's not too much, you're pulling your hair out. But I think this will work. It'll save me a trip to the store, at least for today. Maybe I'll throw them out and I'll be forced to go to the store next time. So I'm gonna set this back up, get some latex gloves on, and I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna glue and nail this. And I'm also gonna use screws, but I'll use screws after I get it glued and nailed. So for glue, I'm using Titebond premium wood glue. This is waterproof, works really good. And if you guys need any decent amount of it, it's just cheaper to buy it in a gallon jug. And I go ahead and put in these little ketchup mustard bottles. And all I'm gonna do, get my foam pad out because my knees aren't that good anymore, is I'm gonna knock that over again, moving cameras around. You guys can see it there. I'm just gonna go ahead and put some glue, and the glue is really what's gonna hold everything together. I'm gonna put glue on both edges, this edge and this edge here. So I'm gonna start with the top, and it's gonna flow down. The stuff gets thick. That's not too bad. It's hot as heck. It's like 86 in the garage today. If I was smart, I would have done this tomorrow when it's in the 70s, but I want to get this done. I'll be out here working on other things. As I mentioned, I got 3 projects that I'm going to be doing: plumbing, electrical, probably tearing out that drywall, or at least a piece of it, to put some supports in there. So you want to get a good coat of glue. The glue is really, guys, the glue is what bonds the nails and the screws, they kind of hold it together until the glue dries, if that makes sense. So you want a nice thick layer of glue, and you want it gooing on both sides. If not, this thing will not be that strong. I should fill this up. The more glue you have in these squeeze bottles, the easier it is, because less air to have to try to keep on squeezing out all the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up right now. This is the one that's real important you get a ton on, because it's got a lot of pores. You want it to have surface bond. Now you guys can use better plywood. I just didn't, and I'm, hindsight, I wish I would have used like a nice pine finish grade. So I recommend, if you want to keep it looking good, or want it looking nicer, use a better plywood. The reason I'm doing this is because I want it to match my other cabinets. So I'm not wanting to rebuild them all. I'm just wanting an additional one, just rebuilding the one. So you're looking about double the price, but still a lot cheaper than trying to buy the cabinets. So that would be my recommendation. At least a one side finished, like a birch ply, and then paint it. That would be really nice, but this is fine for me. All right, okay, so I got a nice coat on both spots where it's going to touch. And I'm just simply gonna eyeball it from top down, make sure it's flush, and hit it with my nail gun. Take one of my gloves off, if I can find my nail gun. And you also want to make sure it's not, you'll see this has got like a little notch. I know that the guy didn't cut it perfect, and I wasn't going to cut it. You're not going to see it, but because the other one's going to go on the inside. So this works for me. I'm going to keep on going down, making sure I'm flush. Checking the bottom. The bottom's most important. That's what I'm going to work to. And when I do this, I'm going to give it a little push. I'm kind of, oh, that's not good. See, when you go out like that, you're gonna, that's okay, it's gonna happen. It's 5/8 plywood. You're not gonna see it. I'll pull the nail out when I'm done. No worries. Now, if you had 3/4 inch plywood, that really probably wouldn't happen that much. You want to keep the nailer straight. That was why it did that on me. But no worries. Just don't want that glue in my nail. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this here. Make sure it's straight. So if you do poke through, there's a fix for that. I'm just gonna wipe this glue while it's still wet on both the inside and the outside. See, a little bit better. There's more light over here. Now, if you do have a nail that goes through, I use vice grips and kind of lock it and then use the wood to pull it out. You want to pull it out the same way it was coming in. So, lock it. Oh, that one's kind of, it's tearing up pretty bad. I'm just going to pop it and nail it. Yeah, that'll work. You can also take a rotary cutter and cut it down as well. Or what I'm going to use some tin snips. And if it wasn't for this video, I probably wouldn't even be messing with this, but there we go. All is good in the world again. All right. So now this one isn't quite perfect. Probably would have fixed this if I would have seen this. Because this side I checked and it was right. That side's a little longer because I would like it to fit flush, but it'll be fine. I could maybe just rip it down with the table saw. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't have to cut the other one. I'm just gonna leave it for this project. Nobody's gonna see it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with that. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, guys. And once I got that done, I'm gonna put my sides on because this is flipped over on its side. So I'll put my sides on top. I'll close in the side, this side, do the same thing, glue nail, flip it around, glue nail. Then I'm gonna cut a piece for the middle, glue nail, just to give it some middle support, just because it's a large cabinet. So I got the top on, did the same thing, really nice thick coat of glue, nailed it every, I don't know, 4 inches or so. Now I'm gonna go around and put these screws, spider. I kind of did 2 tests, one with 1 5/8, and I had a whole big thing at 2 inches. Probably ideal is 1 3/4, but the 1 5/8 didn't bite too good. So I'm going with these, and I got a huge box of them, so that works. And the bit size, couldn't even tell you, it's a little smaller than the screw. I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm kind of going just random between the nails. Nothing fancy here, nothing fancy. And then impact. Just until it's flush. That's it. I'm gonna go do not only the top, but I am going to do the sides too with the screws. Then I'll flip it over and put the other side on, nail it, glue it, nail it, and then put the screws. Then I'll have to cut that middle piece, glue, nail, screw. And then I'll be pretty close to hanging it up there, marking where the studs go, and then I'll trim it out, do the doors probably, maybe tonight, if not tomorrow, we'll see. So let me go ahead and finish getting all these screws in. A bit change in plans. What I'm gonna do, guys, is instead of putting one in the middle like I was going to, and I did this in error, I cut the wrong size, and I'm like, hey, that's the exact same size. I wanna make sure it's long enough for my biggest nail gun. I don't know, this just fit in here a second ago. It'll fit. And then what I'm gonna do is put 2 smaller pieces, divide it that way. So what I use to get them square is a framing square. I think it's called a framing square, but it's a big square. And The reason I'm going to do it now is because I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines with a pencil so that I know where to glue. I have to draw the same lines on the outside, trace them down so that I know where to nail. I'm probably going to have a few that go through, but should get me pretty close. And I'm just drawing the line on center. You guys can't see it over there, but all I'm doing is taking the center. I'm just going to drape it on top here. And when I flip it over, I will trace it from this point to the other back point. I'll make a line, and hopefully that'll be my center point. Same thing with this side. Once I get this centered here, I'll draw a line going down, flip it over, connect. So basically I'm connecting the four. I probably will have more before I'm done, but I have some sticking out, and I'm going to use my Metabo. Father-in-law bought this for me, I don't know, 30 years ago. It's one of the best tools I've ever had. It's kind of like a grinder, but it's higher speed. Got to make sure you use the right wheels as well. But the thing is built like a tank. Not good. Make sure it's square and finish nailing it. I just tacked up the top ones, just so I wanted to make sure it's flush. Now, it's square. Square enough. Actually, this one could be tweaked a little bit. But since this one is square, I am going to nail it so it doesn't move when I tap the other ones. I'm working against time now, guys. I don't want this to set up, and I don't know what I'd do with my rubber mallet. Oh, there it is. It's not too much off. Just a touch. Actually, That's not bad. It's actually not bad. For this project, that's good. I will take it. Glue this up, stick it in, and then I'll flip it over and nail it. Oh well, I'm gonna have to just go in it with my hands. And glue the inside now. I think okay. That's not going in. Ah, boy. I'll try to note toenail one of these down in here. Seemed to work okay. Go. I got one that angled out on me. I'll put some glue down the channel here. Smoothing out the glue a little bit. I don't even know if I'm going to tack it in the back. I'm afraid to put a bunch of holes in it. I don't think I will. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. All right, so I got it up. My wife and son helped me. It was a bit of a struggle even with all three of us. Those blocks of wood, they were really a big help. Ideally, I would have probably put a long one on the side because it wanted to tip forward and somebody had to hold it while I was trying to reposition and give them directions on to push up so that I can then screw it to the wall. But it got it up. Heavier than I thought, and maybe I should have done two cabinets, but I really like the idea of just having one big one tied together. Here's what we're doing now. I cut these. These are the 5/8 thickness, same wood, 1.5 foot, 1.5 inch width. And I'm gonna go ahead and put these, I already measured and cut them. I'm gonna glue them and then just put like, I think I'm using 1-inch brad nails, just so the glue dries. It's not gonna go through the other side. No worries there. To glue, same glue, but I got a little smart this time, especially the bigger surfaces that I'm gluing. Took an old sour cream container and put a little slit in the top, stuck a chip brush through it. That way my glue doesn't dry out and it's easy to apply. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and glue, nail all of these edges in. Then I'm gonna cut some more, do the same thing for the back so it's boxed in. Once that's done, I'm gonna do the bottom, same way. I'm gonna run a strip on the bottom, strips on the end. Typically I don't do the end, but this one holds a lot of weight or will hold a lot of weight. I wanna make sure I beef this up. And then I'll run them on the insides, top, inside, outside. And then I will cut the fascia and I'll show you guys another video how it looks before I put the front fascia on. And all right guys, so I have it all framed in. I'll show you. Now what I'm gonna do is really, I would just put the outside frame on here, but, or the, I don't know what you wanna call it, the face of the cabinet. But I got a little bit of a high spot right here. I don't know if you guys can make it out on camera. Let me try to, it's summertime, sounds of summer, weed whacker's going. So there's a little spot here. And right there, I just want to take it down. I'm going to take it down with the belt sander just so it sits a little smooth. I probably don't have to, but, and when I put these pieces in the side, I lined it up with the base in the middle. And again, I got a little bit on that middle one that's protruding. Just going to hit it with a, so if you guys make mistakes, don't sweat it. It's just for a garage. This isn't your kitchen. So that's it. It's nice and smooth now. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I just cut 2 pieces that are 1.5 inches wide for the length of top and bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and tack those in. That'll give me that like 1/4 inch relief on the bottom. And I had to shut the garage door, so hopefully you guys can see me okay. It got a little dark. The weed whackers are going crazy. 18 gauge. If you guys can see it, 18 gauge 1 inch Porta-Cable. And this Porta-Cable brad nailer. So I'm going to do this the same way as I did the other ones. I'm going to glue it and just tack it on. And that's all. Just looking for the better edge to put on the front here. That'll give me that little 1/4 inch relief that I want. So, all right. I'll go ahead and put some glue on here. I'm just gonna gather up the glue on the face of it here, because it's pretty porous. I want to make sure this has really good adhesion. So what I'll do is I'll do the top, and I'll do the bottom, then I'll go to the top, go across. Then I'm going to go sides, middle, down, and that one which won't show across, I'll do that afterwards. Put just light coat on here. I meant to leave a little bit, like a 1/4 inch relief where it doesn't have glue on it, but I'm not that smart. So all I'm going to do is make sure it's level with the bottom of the shelf. I'll put the glue here so I don't drop it. And then kind of get it to the wall. Get it level. Got the edge. Go for this edge. Yeah. And I'm kind of going by feel. I'm going to fill in these holes with some wood putty later. See up here, nice and flush. I just used my fingers when I was tacking it. Make sure it was nice and flush. That's what I'm going for, nice and flush all the way around. Underneath, you'll have a little bit of a lip. Make sure you get any kind of excess glue off. And yeah, I'm gonna go do the same thing on the top. Of course, I'm gonna go to the ceiling this time. And after I do that, I'm going to, what will I do? I'm going to do the middle one because the reason I'm doing the middle one is because the left isn't really going to show. I'm going to have a little piece of trim. It's like an access panel that I have that I'll go over here. But on the right side, I can always use a little caulking, and I'm going to caulk it anyway when I paint it. But so I'll do a 3-inch instead of 1.5 inches. This will be a 3-inch in the middle, and then 1.5 inches on the side and the top. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those and nail them the same way. And I'll show you guys what it's going to look like. It'll look like a frame cabinet without the doors, but we still have to cut the doors. All right, so I finished all of the facing. As you guys can see, it's looking really good. Even hack like me can make a decent cabinet using these steps. And again, this isn't how you're supposed to build a quality cabinet. This is just how I do it for the garage. All right, so what I'm gonna do is measure for my doors. That's the last thing I have. Once I cut the doors, I'll paint the face and outside of this, and then I'll paint the doors. But the doors are pretty simple. I want a 1/4 inch coverage just so it matches the others. 1/4 inch coverage on the top and bottom, and a 1/2 inch coverage on the side. So all I did is I took, and I got 31, and I said, okay, 31, 1/4 inch, 31.5, and it's a little bit more, so I said 31 and 5/8. That gives me about a 1/4 inch coverage, top and bottom. Again, matches the other cabinets. And I'm gonna kind of use that same top line profile as the other cabinets. That's why I'm trying to mock it after that. And then for the width, I'm gonna measure the whole opening because there's gonna be 2 cabinet doors, one on this side, one on this side, and then 2 more on the other side. So I'm gonna measure the opening. I got 17.25. It's a little bit more than 17.25, but I'll say 17.25. So I'm gonna go 18.5. And basically gonna split it. So 18.5, and then I'll just cut it in half. And I got 9 1/8. Did I do that right? Hold on, let me check. So 18, I think I messed that up. So I have 17.25, adding a 1/2 inch from each side. Again, for 2 cabinets, not the middle, but a 1/2 inch each side. So that's 18.25. Yep, 9 1/8. So if I cut 4 cabinet doors that are 31 5/8 by 9 1/8, then I should be right where I want to be. All right, so here's the panels. 2 coats of exterior paint. And this is what it's looking like. And I painted on the edges, top, and I did not paint the back. I didn't paint the back of any of my cabinets in the garage. But you can, it'll give it a more finished look if you want to make it look good inside. So I'm just going to look at this visually to say which is my cleanest side, because where it mates up, I want to take that side. So that's going to be the side here. And I'm going to put my hinges over here. So I'm just going to flip this over. I have some cardboard so I don't mess up my newly painted finish. And I did let this dry for a day or 2, just so it's not tacky, because you don't want the hinges to stick on it if you wanted to take them off and repaint. Because I do have to do that on the other cabinets. So I'm going to remember what side I'm on, which is this side. And these are just standard hinges. You can get them at any store, Amazon. I'll see if I have a link. I think I bought these on Amazon. If I do, I'll leave a link for this and whatever else I'm using here. At least, I mean, most of the stuff is Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, home improvement stores. But sometimes you can pick up bulk hinges much cheaper on Amazon. And to match the other cabinets, I'm gonna go 2.5 inches from the edge. I'm just going to take a tape measure, and there we go. And just to make sure I don't move things, I'm going to take this and, usually I take a pencil, my pencil broke. Usually I take a pencil and just outline it just to make sure it doesn't move when I'm And it doesn't really matter if it moves a little bit for this, but just an extra step. Take the screws that came with the hinges, and I got a pile of screws here, so some of them, I'm not even quite sure which ones came with the hinges, which ones didn't, but usually they're these little, small, little recessed, I forget what they call that, like a V. So they sit flat, and see, I'm about moving that way you don't have to keep on measuring it. I would probably give it up if I wasn't recording. Just grab another pencil. Okay, I'm gonna get a magnetic drill driver attachment and a new pencil. Let's try this again. See how that makes a huge difference with the magnetic drill driver attachment. And I'm going to check my numbers, which they're still good. Check that again. I must have drew the circle a little bit off last time. That way if I see it walking off that line, I know that it shifted when I'm doing this. I'm just going to aim for directly inside of this. And I'm just kind of holding it and pulling it towards me so it stays on that edge. Adjust this somewhere. Low torque setting. I'm going to go with another 4. That worked. These are self-closing hinges. I have both on the cabinets. Self-closing is nice because, especially if they're not perfect, it helps keep them shut. And that's it. I'm going to do the other side, and I'm going to go ahead and prep all of these. They were chrome, and I wanted more of a brushed finish, and I just took a abrasive wheel. These were pretty cheap. They don't last long. You do a couple hinges and they're pretty much toast. And these are like a Scotch-Brite pad for a Dremel tool, and you chuck in the Dremel tool, and because doing it by hand with the Scotch-Brite pad, I was doing that at first. Man, it took forever. And there's different grits, but I don't see much of a difference for this and really any of them. So you get like a whole box for like 10 or 15 bucks. I'll leave this link too. I don't know if this is a good brand because they sure don't last very long, but at least gives you an idea of these are out there if you're doing something like what I'm doing, getting rid of the chrome and making it more of like a brushed stainless look. So what I'm going to do is I want these perfectly level, all 4 doors. So I'm going to take a piece of scrap wood, put it about 1/4 inch across underneath these quick clamps. So what I'm going to do, I'll do 2 doors at a time, and I'm going to draw a couple little lines, 1/2 inch on each side on the scrap piece of wood, just so that I know whereabouts would be center. I think I did a 1/2 inch on each end, so it gives me a center point, and I need some screws. I'm just using the screws that came with the hinges. Get a few out, get them handy here, and I'm gonna measure all of them. Just gives me a reference point. And then all I am going to do now, throw these up. I'm gonna have to hold them when I do this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a bigger ladder. I'm kind of working in a tight space here. So I'm just gonna set these cabinets, the hinge side out. And I'm looking at my spacing. I'm gonna go to my lines. My 1/2 inch. And I'm going to leave tiny little crack and spacing. Just a hair. Just like that. Now the top one, I'm gonna open it up a little bit. I'll do some fine tuning when I go to screw it down. I'm gonna pull one and push the other one. Just to give me that space. Not good. Video. So what do you get when you're not paying attention? I'm gonna have to remake this door, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it up anyway, and I'll show you guys the result. But I'm gonna have to remake that door. So here we go. I wasn't paying attention. I went to get my drill. I'm doing this video. So I made this one a little too tight. I wanted a little bit more of a gap, but that's okay. I can take a little piece of sandpaper and just shake that one down. But you want a little bit more of a crack than that. So that's it, guys. I'll show you a little bit closer. All that work and it just kind of fell apart at the end there, but I'll fix it. As you can see, this is the finished product. I do have to take a little piece of sandpaper, take this edge down a little bit. It shuts, but you can't see it. It just rubs a little bit. I wish I had a little bit more of a gap. All right, so I built a new panel. Where are all my panels? So I built a new panel, painted it, put the hinges on it, and now I'm gonna finish this thing out without, well, trying to not drop it this time. So that panel is there. That door is here. So this will be my right and my left. It doesn't matter, but I'm just looking for imperfections on the board where I'm less likely to see them. And this time I'm gonna remember to hold it up and not walk away or turn my head and have it hit me in the head. So, all right, without messing them up. My board, Don't have much wiggle room up here, but that's okay. It's binding, but the paper's in it. So I should be good. Paper should be stopping it from binding. In theory, if not, like the other one, I can just do some sanding. I did close it up a little bit on the top. Might still have to sand it. I should have left a bigger space. When these hinges close, yeah. Let's see here. Hopefully I don't. Yeah, I might have to. Well, maybe I should have used a harder spacer, but let's see. Yep, still binding. I should have used a thicker spacer. Hard thing for me at the top. Because I don't have much room here. So now I'm just taking a hand sander, just taking off any of the rough parts. I'll put a little final coat of paint, anything that's sticking up. And again, that's what's nice about these guys, because the materials isn't gonna break the bank. So if you did had to redo something, you can, since it's painted. A rough kind of painted, you don't have to worry about hey, touching it up, doing a little sanding. This isn't your inside your kitchen. These are like utility type of things, but they look cool and uniformed, and now they shut good. Hell, I'm not even gonna paint them right now. Next time I get the paint out, because I will have to get the paint out to touch up some nails, I'll touch these up. But I'm just gonna go ahead and put my knobs on. This is all I'm doing, is kind of hitting the rough edges real quick and rounding them at the same time. So I got my drill bit to match my fittings, and just making sure there's nothing behind there. Straight through. Straight through. That's a knob. Now, depending on the screws that your knobs come with, that looks good. You might have to get shorter ones. I think I did. This video, I thought it was going to be closed out a few times, but it didn't work out that way. And you can see on this side, guys, I don't know if I showed you this. This is a piece of thin, I don't know if it's an 1/8 inch. It's like a cardboard plywood, I forget what they call it, but this is really just a hide on the side. You can do this multiple ways. Now, I left it like this so that I can get back in here and work if I need it to. if you want to get fancy, you could have put a piece of wood and made it really nice and flush. I like it that way just because I use this as like my channel to run wires, and I may eventually put a mini split up here. And if I did, I'd want to be able to, I guess I could have done it anyway, you know, just put a piece of wood there, but, you know, make this fascia board, I could have taken it all the way to the end is what I meant. It would have looked better, but yeah, that's what it looks like. Really happy, guys. I'm happy with it, and you can kind of transform your garage. I got them all shaved down to kind of match. They both close really nice, and they're self-closing. I don't know if they'll really self-close. Let's see. Yeah, there's a little bit of a spring on it. Now it matches better. I mean, the other one was painted the same, but it really didn't fit the space. You can see now that it doesn't stick out, and it looks a lot better in my opinion. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope this helps you, and it's a great option if you don't have the budget to have some custom cabinets made, or you know, buy some of the steel ones. And these are great, and you can build your own organizational shelves inside, which I'll do something on this one with some scrap wood just so I can maximize the space. They're really strong, they're really cheap, and you can even upgrade them to a higher end plywood if you want them to look nicer. I didn't at the time. I didn't have the cash. Now that I'm a little bit better off, I just want them to match. I think it'd look funny if you had a finer grade or higher grade plywood to the other. And when the other nice part about this is I use a thick matte roller, so when I roll it, it hides all the imperfections, and you can't tell when the cabinets were made. I do have to touch up some of these. I was looking at them a little closer. I'm like, yeah, they need some TLC, so I'm gonna rough up the hinges. These hinges are chrome. I don't like that, but I also didn't want to spend $200 on hinges for this whole garage, about $150. So I don't know if you guys seen, I had like a stainless matte finish here. I did that. I'll show you. I'm going to do a video on that, so look forward to a future video. I'll show you how to transform some chrome hinges, shiny chrome hinges, to a stainless like for just a few dollars. So that's me, guys. Hope this helps you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.